Imagine a life with no money, no clocks, and no laws. Where food comes from the wild, love has no contracts, and survival depends on sharing. This isn't the past. This is how the Hadzabe hunt, eat, love, and survive in the wild, today. In northern Tanzania, near the dry, sun-baked edges of Lake Eyasi, lives one of the last hunter-gatherer societies on Earth, the Hadzabe people. They don't farm. They don't herd animals. They don't build permanent homes. For tens of thousands of years, their way of life has remained almost unchanged, even as the rest of the world transformed around them. To understand the Hadzabe is not just to study a tribe. It is to look into a living mirror of humanity's earliest chapters. The Hadzabe, sometimes called Hadza, number just over 1,000 people. They live in small, mobile groups scattered across the savanna, woodlands, and rocky outcrops of northern Tanzania. Unlike most societies, the Hadzabe have no chiefs, no kings, and no formal leadership structures. Decisions are made through conversation. Authority is temporary, and equality is deeply valued. No one owns land. No one controls food. No one commands another person. In a world shaped by hierarchy, the Hadzabe represent something radically different. The Hadzabe speak a language unlike any other in East Africa. It is rich in click sounds, sharp, rhythmic consonants that linguists believe may resemble some of the earliest human speech patterns. Their language is not written. It is passed down orally, through stories, jokes, arguments, and everyday conversation. When a language disappears, a way of thinking disappears with it. And the Hadzabe language carries a worldview shaped by survival, cooperation, and intimate knowledge of nature. There are no alarms in a Hadzabe camp. People wake when the sun warms the earth. Children stir near dying embers from the night's fire. Voices rise slowly, casually. The first question of the day is simple. Will we hunt, or will we gather? That decision depends on weather, energy, and opportunity, not obligation. There is no concept of working hours. Only the rhythm of need. Hunting is primarily the role of men, though women may join when needed. They hunt using handmade bows and arrows, tools refined over generations. The arrows are light, but deadly. Their tips are often coated with natural poison extracted from plants or animal toxins. The Hadzabe use poison from two main plants, Adenium obesum, which they call panjube, and Strophanthus emini, known as shanjo. These plants contain cardiac glycosides, compounds that disrupt the heartbeat of animals, causing death within hours. The poison is extracted by hollowing out the thick trunk of the desert rose plant, harvesting the milky sap-filled inner wood. Men boil the plant material until a black residue remains. This residue is then wound around metal arrowheads just behind the tip. The Hadzabe use three distinct types of arrows. One with a blunt wooden tip for birds and small game. One with a sharp metal point for medium-sized animals at close range. And poison-tipped arrows with barbed metal heads for large game like giraffe, buffalo, and zebra. The barbs are crucial. They hook into the animal's flesh so the wooden shaft breaks away when the animal runs, leaving the poison tip inside to do its work. A single successful shot may take hours, sometimes days, of tracking, patience, and silence. Hunters read the land like a book. Broken grass, disturbed soil, faint hoof marks, the direction of birds. There is no guarantee of success. Some days, hunters return empty-handed. And when that happens, there is no punishment, no blame, only acceptance. When an animal is killed, it does not belong to the hunter. It belongs to everyone. Meat is shared across the camp, regardless of who hunted or who gathered. This is not generosity. It is survival logic. In a harsh environment, hoarding is dangerous. Sharing ensures that everyone lives long enough to contribute again. Among the Hadzabe, selfishness is quietly discouraged, not through rules, but through social pressure and humor. No one wants to be known as someone who takes without giving. The Hadzabe diet is diverse and seasonal. They eat wild meat, berries, tubers dug from the earth, baobab fruit, and especially honey. Honey is one of the most prized foods in Hadzabe life. Men often follow honey-guide birds, which lead humans to hidden beehives in exchange for leftover wax. This relationship between bird and human is extraordinary. The honeyguide, a wild bird called indicator, has evolved to communicate with humans through specific calls. Research has shown that honeyguides increase the Hadzabe success rate in finding bee nests by 560%. The birds lead men to larger, higher-yielding nests than those found without their help. Scientists estimate that 8 to 10% of the entire Hadzabe diet comes from honey found with the help of these birds. During the hunt for honey, Hadzabe men whistle a special call. The bird responds and begins flying from tree to tree, pausing to make sure the hunters follow. When the bird reaches a hive, often hidden high in a baobab tree, it perches nearby and waits. The men light a torch, climb the tree, blow smoke into the nest to calm the bees, then chop open the trunk with an axe. But here's where the story gets interesting. Contrary to popular belief, the Hadzabe don't leave honeycomb for the birds as a reward. Instead, they hide, bury, or burn leftover wax, even when the birds aren't watching. Why? To keep the bird hungry. A hungry honeyguide will guide again tomorrow. A full one will simply rest. This isn't cruelty, it's strategic manipulation refined over thousands of years. Fire is made by hand. Food is cooked simply, often over open flames. There are no recipes, only experience. And there is no overeating. Food is eaten when available, and scarcity is accepted as part of life. Hadzabe children are not formally taught. They learn by watching. A child follows adults on hunts, listens to conversations, observes mistakes. There is no classroom, no punishment system, no rigid discipline. Children are trusted to explore, and through exploration, they learn survival skills naturally. Independence is encouraged early. Curiosity is respected. Now let's talk about something rarely explored in documentaries about the Hadzabe: love. Among the Hadzabe, relationships are flexible. There are marriages, but they are informal. There are no ceremonies, no contracts, no dowries. A couple may choose to live together. If the relationship no longer works, they may separate, without shame or punishment. Some men may have more than one wife, but this is not universal, and it is shaped by personal choice, not social pressure. What matters most is consent and harmony. Jealousy exists, the Hadzabe are human, but rigid control does not. Love is seen as something lived, not owned. Sex is not publicly discussed in detail, nor is it ritualized. It is treated as a natural part of adult life, not a source of power or status. There are no taboos used to control women's bodies, and no religious laws governing intimacy. Privacy is respected, even in open camps. This quiet normalcy stands in sharp contrast to societies that obsess over sex while claiming to suppress it. Men hunt. Women gather. But both roles are equally valued. Gathering often provides more consistent calories than hunting. Women's knowledge of plants, seasons, and nutrition is essential to survival. Decisions are not dominated by men. Women speak openly, disagree freely, and leave relationships if they choose. Power is balanced, not enforced. The Hadzabe believe in a spiritual force connected to the natural world. They do not build temples or worship idols. Nature itself is sacred. Animals, weather, and land are treated with respect, not ownership. The Hadzabe pray to Ishoko, the sun, and Hain, Ishoko's husband, associated with the moon. These are not gods in the traditional sense, but celestial forces woven into their cosmology. Rituals are simple and rare, usually tied to illness, misfortune, or conflict. One of the most important rituals is the Epim dance, performed monthly when the moon is not visible, during the new moon. The Epim dance happens in near-total darkness. Campfires are extinguished. Men who have killed large game, called Epim men, take turns wearing a headdress of black ostrich feathers, a long black cape, bells on their ankles, and carry a rattle. They dance in rhythm, stamping their feet, shaking the rattle, singing to the women who respond in call and response. The ritual is not entertainment. It is a sacred connection to ancestors, to manhood, to the relationship between the sexes. Only Epim men are allowed to eat certain parts of large animals: the heart, lungs, kidneys, neck, tongue, and genitals. This isn't about dominance, It's about earning respect through skill and contribution. There is no concept of sin, only balance and imbalance. Despite surviving for tens of thousands of years, the Hadzabe face their greatest threat today. Their land is shrinking. Farms expand. Tourism grows. Conservation zones restrict hunting. Ironically, animals are protected, while the people who lived alongside them for millennia are pushed out. In 2007, the Tanzanian government leased 2,500 square miles of Hadzebe land, the entire Hadzebe Valley, to members of the Al Noyan royal family of the United Arab Emirates. The land was to become a private safari playground. Both the Hadzabe and neighboring Datuga people were evicted. Some Hadzabe who resisted were arrested and imprisoned. International pressure and protests from human rights organizations eventually forced the deal to be rescinded. But the damage was done. The message was clear: their lives, their history, their survival, mattered less than wealth and power. Today, encroachment continues. The Hadzebe Valley, once uninhabited due to tsetse flies, is now filled with Datuga herders whose cattle destroy the shallow watering holes the Hadzabe depend on. Pastureland replaces berry bushes. Hunting by outsiders depletes game. Most Hadzabe can no longer sustain themselves without supplementary food like ugali, a maize porridge, purchased or received from aid. Tourism brings money, but most of it goes to government offices and tour companies, not the Hadzabe. Money that does reach them has fueled alcoholism. Deaths from alcohol poisoning have become a severe problem, erasing generations of cultural knowledge in a single bottle. Modern alcohol, outside influence, and pressure to settle permanently disrupt traditional life. What took thousands of years to refine could disappear in a single generation. The Hadzabe are not behind the modern world. They simply chose a different path. They show us that humans can live without hierarchy. Cooperation can replace competition. Wealth is not required for meaning. Their existence challenges the idea that progress has only one direction. When the Hadzabe disappear, we don't just lose a tribe. We lose living evidence of who we once were. In a world obsessed with speed, the Hadzabe move slowly. In a world obsessed with ownership, they share. In a world defined by rules, they rely on trust. They hunt. They eat. They love. They survive. Not because they are primitive, but because they understand something modern life has forgotten. Sometimes, the future isn't ahead of us. Sometimes, it's still living quietly in the wild.